Hello, my friends, hello, and welcome once again to stately Vaughan Manor, where Roger and I have returned after being away for quite some time. Roger was busy causing a reign of terror across Switzerland and northern Italy, but we finally got back to the United States. And then, once we got back to the United States, I realized I had COVID. Yay! So I've been sick. So I've been away even longer than I thought I would be. I am still in the process of recovering. Roger doesn't have to recover from anything on account of him being a supernatural undead being. Unfortunately, I'm not. Not yet anyway. Roger's made promises, but we'll see. But I am way behind in everything I want to do with my dumb channel. And that includes being way behind on my reading reports. So normally I do a weekend reading report, but since I've been so late, I decided I'd just do it now. So it's a Friday reading report. Why not? What have I been reading? Well, unfortunately, I haven't had as much chance to read as I thought I might during my vacation. Actually, the whole time I was away, I was incredibly busy. There was really not much time to read, even on the plane, even though the plane, first of all, I don't recommend 12-hour plane rides. They suck. And it was so uncomfortable that I didn't get much reading done on the plane either. So, the amount of reading I've done hasn't been nearly as much as I wanted, but I've read a couple of things. So going to my list for the 500 book challenge, the challenge where I have to read 500 books that I own before I'll buy any new ones, book number 188 was Little Fuzzy. It was Little Fuzzy, which I read for Roger's Cheap Old Book Club. I have a copy of it right here, although this is not the copy that I read. This actually is the Fuzzy Papers. It has the first two books in the Little Fuzzy Saga by H. Beam Piper. I actually read it on my Kindle because that's what I had while I was traveling. It is available for free on Project Gutenberg, as all of the books in Roger's Cheap Old Book Club are. And I really enjoyed it. It reads kind of like what we would consider a YA book to be now, although it does have some darker themes to it. It was pretty good. It has the cute, fuzzy little creatures, which probably inspired the Ewoks from Star Wars, although they're less annoying than the Ewoks are. The little fuzzies. It's a good, quick, fast-paced story. You kind of know where it's going to go at the end. You know how it's going to turn out pretty much as you're reading it. But it's still good. It's still really good. I don't want to give away the plot too much. But basically, it's one of those stories about a company that wants to exploit the natural resources of a planet, but little fuzzies live there, and can the fuzzies be considered people legally? That's pretty much what it's about. And it's really good. I really enjoyed Little Fuzzy by H. Beam Piper. I will probably read the second part, Fuzzy Sapiens, at some point. I'll probably reread the first part, actually, because I did quite enjoy the book. So this was book 188. So I read that. Then, while I was in Italy, I have a friend over there who's a cartoonist in Italy who is a big fan of comics and comic books. And he gave me this. This is The Strange Death of Alex Raymond, written by Dave Sim, and finished by Carson Grubeau, because Dave Sim didn't finish this thing. So Dave Sim, if you're not aware, wrote a very, very long-running comic book, independent comic book called Cerberus the Aardvark, which I was never a big fan of. Even when it was good, I wasn't a huge fan of Cerberus. But it was impressive just how long that comic book went on. And Dave Sim, whatever else you can say about him, is a fairly decent artist. He's notorious now, not just for being anti-feminist, but I mean, some of the things he's said about women are just frankly crazy. Which is because Dave Sim is mentally ill. He just is. And he wrote this, The Strange Death of Alex Raymond, which I've actually heard. I've heard about this book before, and some people have referred to it as a kind of strange masterpiece. It is not a masterpiece. It is not. It has some good artwork in it, though. He can draw, this guy. You have to give him that. And the way Dave Sim describes this book is a metaphysical history of comics photorealism. And you could take that word metaphysical and just change it into nonsense, because that's what the word means as far as how it's used in this book. So this takes the death of Alex Raymond, who is the creator of Flash Gordon, and tries to connect it in all kinds of strange, bizarre ways with all kinds of other things that have nothing to do with the death of Alex Raymond. The thing is, Dave Sim he's mentally ill. And so he writes this very strange, bizarre graphic novel. And in this case, it's very difficult to separate the art from the artist, just because he puts himself literally in the graphic novel. So Dave Sim makes himself a character in the book, and he's telling you the story of the strange death of Alex Raymond and all of the other bizarre things that are connected with the strange death of Alex Raymond. First of all, there was nothing strange about the death of Alex Raymond in real life. Alex Raymond drove a sports car that he was unfamiliar with way too fast and crashed and died. That's it. There was nothing strange about it. But Dave Sims thinks there is something strange about his death. And he makes all kinds of assertions and things which, are based on no facts at all. And he connects the death with all kinds of other things like, well, how about Margaret Mitchell, who wrote Gone with the Wind, and her tragic demise? He connects the two. What is the connection between the death of Margaret Mitchell, who wrote Gone with the Wind, and the death of Alex Raymond, who created Flash Gordon? Nothing. There is no connection at all. But Dave Sims finds one. So Dave Sim, this is an extraordinarily intricate collection of just bizarre conspiracy theories and odd workings of the mind. And it leads pretty much nowhere. Dave Sim keeps promising through the earlier portion of this book that this will all make sense in the end, but it doesn't. In fact, Dave Sim couldn't finish the book because he came up with a mysterious wrist ailment which prevented him from drawing. It was mysterious because Dave Sim won't go to the doctor because he doesn't think medicine or doctors are real. So this other guy, Carson Grubau, came in and finished up the book, which must have been difficult. So considering the whole thing is just a big collection of nonsense. And so he ends it with this kind of weird stream of consciousness thing. I don't think much of this book. I think the artwork is pretty great through much of it. Dave Sim, I have to say, does have an interesting... He has talent. And he has the ability to imitate a bunch of other artists, who are better than him. But he has that ability. And so it's interesting from an artistic standpoint. It's also interesting just to see how far far off a mind can go, and how far off a mind can go making connections and seeing patterns that are not there. It's a big pile of crazy, this book. And so, it was that. Not a masterpiece, but sort of interesting. I do not recommend it though, because you would have to be really interested, I think, in this author, this comic book creator, to really want to delve into this thing. So I read that. Okay, moving on to book 190 from my 500 book challenge. A book I enjoyed quite a bit more than the last one. This is Conan the Barbarian, The Horn of Azoth. So this is a graphic novel that was printed in 1990 that is based on the original script that Roy Thomas wrote for what became Conan the Destroyer. Originally, it was Conan, King of Thieves. And by the time it came out in this graphic novel format, it was Conan the Barbarian, The Horn of Azoth. But it has the story from that original screenplay, Conan, King of Thieves. And it's really interesting. So this is written by Roy Thomas and Jerry Conway. Art is by Mike Doherty and Tony DiZuniga. And it's interesting. It's much darker, has a much darker feel than the film Conan the Destroyer. Has more of a Lovecraftian kind of feel at the end. And it's fun. It has a bunch of bits that you can see that were taken from different Robert E. Howard stories and put into the script. Like there's bits that you can recognize from Rogues in the House, for example. Some dialogue that you can recognize from Queen of the Black Coast. And it's a fun graphic novel. It's not perfect. I think it would have made a better film. Definitely, it would have made a better film than the one we got. Maybe not much better, but it would have been better. And as a graphic novel, it works pretty well. It still feels a bit thin. It feels like an outline, and that just could be because they took this full script and just crammed it all into this, 60-page graphic novel or whatever it is. But still, it's fun. It was a fun book. It's a fun Conan adventure. And it was interesting just because, I've never read that script, Conan, King of Thieves. All I've seen is the okay sequel to Conan the Barbarian, Conan the Destroyer, which I liked when I was a kid, but seeing it again as an adult, it was like, I don't know. This would have been better. And it's fun. It's a fun book. So that was book 190. What am I reading right now? Well, Vanya the Vampire. I'm reading Vanya the Vampire, and I haven't gotten as far in it as I expected to, just because I've been so much busier than I expected to be. And this whole COVID thing has not been a ton of fun and hasn't helped the reading any, to tell you the honest truth. So I'm only about 25% through Vanya the Vampire. Vanya the Vampire is notoriously long. It's huge, as you can see from this tiny print in double columns in volume 1 of Vanya the Vampire here. I've been actually reading it on the Kindle for the most part. I started it off in this, but then I went to Europe, so I took the Kindle, and I've been reading most of it on Kindle. And it's fantastic. I love Varney, and I'm having a great time reading Varney. And hopefully I'll be able to read a lot more than I have with Vanya the Vampire, because it's so much fun. I had hoped to read the whole thing in October. That seems unlikely the way things are going, but maybe. You never know. But yeah, penny dreadful goodness. I mean, it's fantastic fun. I mean, it's trash. It's Victorian era trash, but delightful trash and very entertaining. Perfect choice for Victober, by the way, Victober, which is going on at the moment. This is the perfect choice for that. So yeah, Vanya the Vampire. The most famous vampire book that most people haven't read still to this day, just because it's so long. But a lot of fun, man. Vanya the Vampire is a lot of fun. So I have 75% more of it to read, and I look forward to it because, like I said, it's fantastic. Varney's a great character. He's an interesting guy, Varney. Now, what else have I been reading? Well, the Fantastic Four. I was unable to read this for 2 weeks because I didn't take it with me. So I'm behind on the Fantastic Four, but I'm back to reading the Fantastic Four every day. I'm in the I'm in the late 60s now. This has stories from 1967 to 1969. This is the fifth Fantastic Four Epic Collection. And at this point, Galactus has returned and threatened the Earth once again. Sue Storm, or Sue Richards, because, you know, her and Reed Richards got married. She's become pregnant and they're awaiting their child, who should be born any time now, young Franklin. So she's pregnant, which gives Reed Richards an opportunity to be even more sexist than he usually is. But it's great. It's great stuff from Stan Lee and Jack Kirby. I am about to start issue 78. The Thing No More. The Thing No More. Something tells me that that's an inaccurate title. He's going to be the Thing again by the next issue. So, yeah, the Fantastic Four. I'm still reading this because I am reading all of the Fantastic Four from the beginnings in 1961 to the end of the initial run in 1996. So that's fun. But I have, besides my ongoing Marvel project, I've got a lot of just graphic novels and comic book collections sitting around. So I thought I would read some other stuff as well. And so I picked up Cull the Savage. Cull the Savage. Now this is the Cull the Savage omnibus printed by Marvel Comics a few years ago. I'm hoping that Titan Comics reprints this. They've been reprinting some of the other Marvel omnibuses, and I'm hoping they reprint this one because this one is fantastic. And everybody should have a chance, who is a Robert E. Howard fan, to read this stuff. This is all the Cull stories that showed up in the black and white magazines. There were 3 issues of Cull and the Barbarians, but a lot of the stories in here actually were originally printed in Savage Sword of Conan, and it's great stuff. Great stuff. Love King Cull. And I read most of these before, back when Dark Horse had the license. They reprinted a bunch of these, but I hadn't read this omnibus yet, even though I've owned it for quite some time. So now I'm reading it, and it's fantastic. And look at that great cover. Man, awesome stuff. So I'm reading that. And I also got some stuff in the mail. Some stuff surprised me when I got home from Europe. And one of the best things I got was Hither Came Conan. This was kindly sent to me by a viewer, and I very much appreciate it being sent to me because it's fantastic. So this book is by Bob Byrne, Bill Ward, the great Howard Andrew Jones, and Jason M. Waltz. And it's all about the original Conan stories, and they take each Conan story and analyze it. And they go through all of these Conan stories, the original Robert E. Howard stories, and write essays and articles about these stories. And it looks fantastic. I haven't read it yet, but it looks great. The perfect thing for Sumerian September. So yeah, I'll definitely be pulling this out again next year when Sumerian September rolls around once more. But yeah, very happy to get this. This is fantastic. So Hither Came Conan. And speaking of Howard Andrew Jones, his latest book Shadow of the Smoking Mountain. A physical copy of it came in the mail while I was gone. I had already read this because Howard Andrew Jones very kindly sent me an e-copy of it. But I'm very happy to have the physical copy as well. This showed up while I was gone. And so yeah, that's awesome. This is available now. Howard Andrew Jones, Shadow of the Smoking Mountain, the third book in the Chronicles of Hanuvar. I intended to do a review of this already. It just hasn't happened. So I'll be talking about this book soon. It's fantastic. Howard Andrew Jones, man. Great writer. So very happy that this came. And then, I think this was the last book that I had pre-ordered before comics became part of the 500 book challenge. I pre-ordered this a long time ago. This is Godzilla, the original Marvel years. So this is Herb Trimpe's Godzilla. When Marvel Comics had the Godzilla license for a while, they did this really interesting series of Godzilla comics, all drawn by Herb Trimpe, who makes Godzilla look like a cross between a horse and a frog. But it's awesome. I remember it being so much fun. And, you know, in these spellbinding pages, Godzilla fights, you know, the Avengers, S.H.I.E.L.D., the Champions, from what I remember. So, you know, and also he becomes real tiny and fights a mouse. It's great stuff. It's Marvel's Godzilla. So, yeah, I got this. And I haven't read these issues since, I guess, since they came out back in the 70s when I was a little kid. So this should be interesting. This should be a fun read when I get to it. I'll probably pick that up as soon as I'm finished with Call. We'll see. But I think that's everything. That catches me up for now. I will be back Sunday, but not with a reading report since I already did it. I'll come back hopefully with something else. So Roger and I, we are back finally, and I will catch you next time.